Hello, everybody. Hi, this is Cheryl Abram, and welcome to Person Centered Cyber. So, tonight I'm going to have on here with me Professor Black Ops. We're going to talk about something that was posted on LinkedIn. Someone posted a link to a white paper called Threat Based Risk Profiling Methodology, which was super interesting for me because I'm looking at a whole bunch of purple team stuff, okay, purple team threat-based type things. So this was interesting because this is talking about how Fedramp is using this threat-based profiling, or they've created this threat-based profiling methodology for organizations to use to help them prioritize the security controls, okay, that they put on the information systems, all right? Now, as I said in another video, this is the compliance side of cybersecurity, or like the regulatory risk side of cybersecurity, okay? So we're gonna talk about that, but I also want to address, so in the video I talked about cybersecurity, and I talked about cyber defense, all right? So somebody turned me on to Attack IQ for their purple team stuff. So I went and I looked at it. It's good. It's good. I got to get in touch with Mr. Attack IQ though, because I would love to give some feedback. But this is like the cyber defense side, all right? Because they have what they call threat-informed defense. This stuff is really good, okay? If you go to Attack IQ, look at the purple team stuff, threat-informed defense. So, so when Professor Black Ops comes on, we're gonna go over the compliance piece, but I want y'all to hear both sides because it's easier to understand something if you have something to compare it to, I found. So for the regulatory risk side or the compliance cybersecurity side, hey, Professor Black Ops, I'm just going to give a quick explanation and then I'll bring you up so we can chat about it. So this white paper, now this white paper is missing a little bit of white or a little bit of paper. I mean, I don't know. It was short and it didn't really give a whole lot of details. So I'm hoping, Professor Black Ops, that you can help out in that regard. Okay, and I'm sure you can. Sorry, I'm trying to see who that was calling me. So it's from Fedramp. Fedramp is the Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program. Okay, so they developed this methodology for scoring each security control, NIST 853 revision 4, against the NSA's framework. So the NSA has created their own, what is it called? Technical cyber threat framework. It says that they use some of the MITRE ATT&CK stuff to do it. The framework isn't in this white paper, but it's somewhere, child. I looked for it, I couldn't find it. And the purpose of this whole thing is to prioritize. So if y'all were in my talk that I did with Vic, you saw that I used a picture of the bombers that were in World War, what was it, 1 or 2? Where they all came back and they were trying to find out where all the shots were in the planes because they were going down. And you could see a whole bunch of shots, like in the wings and in the tail and all that, right? So they were looking for, where is this plane vulnerable? Like, where is it getting the most shots and stuff, right? And they found that, you know what, we're not gonna plug up all the vulnerabilities. First of all, it's gonna make the plane too heavy, okay? It ain't gonna be able to fly, right? So let's do something else, okay? Now, if you wanna see all that stuff, you can go look at the video, but they're like, okay, don't plug up all the vulnerabilities. Okay, let's prioritize what you need to do depending on your threat environment, okay? It's a 3-phase methodology. The first is threat-based analysis, the second is security control assessment, and the third is risk profiling, where it goes over a whole maturity level thing that you have there to use. Okay, so that's the Fedramp threat-based risk profiling methodology. Now, the Attack IQ is a threat-informed defense. All right. So this is you. Okay, you got all your You've taken care of your information system. You put the security controls on it and all that. So now let's get into cyber defense, okay? And so we can help maintain our cyber health, okay? Now, this is called threat-informed defense. And like I said, I think it's really good. It's about you're informing what you do based on specific things as far as the defense, okay? And the reasons why you want to do this, why you can do this, actually, okay? There's advantages for a blue and purple team here. Because we control the shape of the network, all right? Which is one of the things that came out in that paper about how cyberspace is not a war-fighting domain. One of the reasons was because you control the domain. Like, you can move the land. If you consider your network the land, you could put it here, you could put it here. I mean, you could shape it any way you want to, right? Just like that, y'all remember that movie Crawl, where that castle was in a different place every day? So it's like that, okay? You can move it any way you want to move it, all right? And the adversary ain't got nothing to do with that, okay? So that's one advantage. Another one is easy wins. If you're using Windows 7, come on now. And I believe the people in Florida were using like an old version of Windows, okay? You know, with the tainting in the water and all that stuff. So another possible advantage, if we do it, is to take care of that low-hanging fruit. You know, go ahead and do your updates and, you know, and all that. And then what it says is when you are able to take a threat-informed defense perspective, the attacker has three choices. Only three things they could do. Three, okay? They gotta be so quiet, okay? They gotta tiptoe. They gotta take small steps. They gotta look around the corner before they move. They gotta be so circumspect that you got time to know that they're there, okay? You got time to know they're there. Because they gotta, you know, they keep looking over there to see who's there. Can they detect that I'm here? So it's gonna take them some time to get to whatever it is, you know, whatever their aim is, which is an advantage for you, threat hunter. Okay, because, you know, now you got time to find them. So that's the first one. The second thing that the attacker can do, hit it and quit it. Okay, go in loud, like everybody know that they just busting down doors, they cracking vases. I mean, they just because they're trying to hurry up and get in there and get whatever it is they're trying to get out, which is another advantage for you because you can hear them, you can see them, you know that they're there. Like, you know, what the hell is this going on right here? You know, in the you know, the reports and the tools and all that stuff we have. So you can see them real easy. They ain't even trying to be quiet, okay? And the third one is, now this is the first time I've heard this term. I've never heard cyber WMD. I've never heard that, okay? StreamYard, don't play. Okay, what is my connection looking like? Ciao. This is StreamYard. These StreamYard people are a mess, okay? So the third one they got to do is, and what they don't want to do, okay? Attackers are lazy. You know, they're not all, you know, people just late. They're people, just like other people. The easiest way I can get in and get what I want, the better, okay? But sometimes, depending on who you are, if you got the SEAL Team 6 equivalent of a blue team, purple team in your organization, okay? They gonna have to just use their cyber weapon of mass destruction, which is what, you know, the Attack IQ calls it. They just gonna have to burn that. Okay, they'd rather not. They rather make it real easy. But you know, your team is, you know, you guys are rock stars. Okay, the first one staying in there, they know they ain't gonna get very far. Okay. Just busting through the door, being loud as I don't know what, they know they're not going to get far. So now they got to bring out the big guns, which they really don't want to do, but you know, they'll do it if they need to. All right, so that's the threat-informed defense. So the things that you need to do And it goes into, they use the MITRE attack framework as well. Okay. And, but this last, okay, so for the purple team, what they say here, for the threat informed defense, 4 questions that a purple team needs to ask. Okay. Who wants to attack me as far as the organization? Okay. Who wants to attack this organization? How might they do it? How might they attack it? Are my controls, that's the first part there, the threat-informed controls that we're going to talk about. Are my controls set up to stop that from happening? And 4, how can I emulate and test all of these other questions? Okay. Now, I had to add, y'all know me, okay? Those are good questions. Those are great questions. But it's missing an integral part, okay? Now, this is what I think needs to be added to this purple team, these purple teaming questions, all right? Not just who wants to attack, but who is currently in my system? Who already up in this house? Who is already here? Okay, who's here? 2, how did they get in? Number 3, where are they now? Okay, number 4, what controls did they break or bypass? Okay, 5, what trail did they leave? Because you know, oh boy, who started the forensic stuff, he said every contact leaves a trace. I don't care what it is. Every contact leaves a trace, okay? And I believe that's true. If you watch forensic files, that's true, okay? What is their aim? And the last one, who or what in the business needs to know about this? Needs to know, and who needs extra protection, okay? Just for the moment that, you know, sir, ma'am, you know, we're doing an exercise where we're answering these questions and we feel like the attacker is heading for this particular system, you know, we're going to add extra whatever or do whatever y'all do. Professor Black Ops, you can, you know, inform me about how that would happen. But yeah, so those are it's not just who wants to attack, who's in here right now, looking at me, look at them. Okay, we need to answer that question too. All right, you ready, Professor Black Ops? Let's talk about this stuff here. Let me drop the link. Right. Okay. Okay, there you go. Can you see that? Did you get that? StreamYard is giving me the blues. It's telling my connection is unstable. And I don't know how to do that because I got a over here that's supposed to, I don't know, maybe I have to configure it better or something. Professor Black Ops, how you doing?
Oh, I'm all right. Just finished teaching the class.
Yeah, what class?
Huh?
Which class was it?
Introduction to cybersecurity.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So yeah, I let them out early. They were behind on their homework, so.
I thought you were like in Wisconsin or something.
No, I'm in Indiana, right next to Chicago.
Is Eastern? I didn't know that was Eastern. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we started changing our time a couple years ago, so we flipped it back and forth.
Oh, okay.
Which pissed me off, but it's all right.
Okay. All right. So if you're able to, I would love to get your feedback on both the Fedramp and this threat informed thing.
Okay.
From Attack IQ. So
you want me to just give an overview of Fedramp, or you got some specific questions how you want to do them?
So did you see the threat-based risk profiling methodology?
I think I did. It's been a while since I used that. I usually do Fedramp, and you've been shouting out my STIGs. So I've been using Fedramp with the STIGs forever because we used to do STIGs at DOD. I think that's the most, we could say, comprehensive blue team compliance out there, but it's so hard. Most people just back away. I had billion-dollar companies tell me it was too hard.
So what's the difference between the typical way you put the STIGs on and this threat-based thing where you're prioritized, like you don't prioritize the first way?
No, they both prioritize. I think from the threat-based, I think they focus on what threats they think that happen. I think the STIG says this is the best ecosystem for all attacks we know. So this is what you need to put down on your system.
Just regardless of what you think what is it, TTP, whoever you think
Right. Because they feel they're going to get attacked by script kiddies and nation states. So we believe this is the best hardening for that. So what they do is, if you looked at the STIGs, it's Cat 1s, which means high vulnerability and high impact. Then it's Cat 2s in the middle, then it's lows. So Cat 1s, we say, no discussion, you got to do them. Cat 2s can be a negotiation. You can say it could be too expensive to do this piece, but what's your mitigating control? It's like a bell curve. It's a few Cat 1s and a whole bunch of Cat 2s and a few Cat 3s. Because money's not infinite. So
yeah.
So go
ahead. Yeah, what are you saying?
But okay, so like FedRamp is basically the government saying, hey, we tired of running our data centers. AWS came to them and said, hey, we got the top-notch security. We can beat what any certification you want. We can do the STIG, CIS, schisms for IRS, and we can just give you your own data center for a little bit of money. The government said, okay, we want to outsource it because obviously we think you can do better. So the government gave them really the STIGs and some checks that says, this is what we need to do in our data center. Can you do it in the cloud?
Yeah.
AWS said, yeah, we can do it in the cloud. So they did it. And that became Fedramp, which is basically NIST 800-53 in the cloud.
Yeah. Right.
So now if I'm a government and I got a project, I can say, okay, I can go to Amazon's cloud, Azure cloud, because the government just gave Azure $10 billion for that 10-year contract. Then Google's got a government cloud. So they said,
who gave
Azure wanted 10.
Is that the DoD thing?
It's everything. If you Google Jedi, they won the Jedi contract, which was $10 billion. Amazon's actually suing them because
that's what I read.
Trump hates Bezos. So AWS has 10-year head start, but Trump's like, F you, I'm giving it to Microsoft.
I thought they were still in like litigation or something. They hadn't chosen.
Oh, they are. They got infinite lawyers. But yeah, so that's $10 billion of the government. Yeah. So two is the cloud came that, and then you got specific products. And we can look at the Fedramp marketplace, and I help small minority companies do that. So you got to do all this paperwork. So what happened is you're the Navy and you want to buy something. You want to buy you do certain like accounts payable. So I can take my software, get it FedRamped. So the Navy's got to come to me and says, we want you to come and be FedRamp certified. You got to invite me to become FedRamp certified. I do all my paperwork, turn it in. Then they have a 3PAO, which is like 12 companies that come out and review your paperwork to see if you're certified. Then once you FedRamp certified in that government cloud, any government agency can come out and use you. Right. Yeah. So that's kind of how they do. So in my job, we look at FedRamp companies for what we want to do. So I got to review their paperwork.
Okay.
So but the thing is, the trick is when you're in the cloud, right? It's shared responsibility. They have the infrastructure, but you still got to review the code. Right. So, and two is how they set up their VPC and their network. So you as an organization still make sure they got to set that up for your level of security for your agency. So IRS, OSHA.
Okay. So it's not the same for every organization. So AWS might have this much control over the security.
Routers, firewalls, disk control. But two is, like you said, you can configure your network anyway. They say these are the components we say are NIST compliant, FISMA compliant, OSHA compliant. Now you got to configure them to the level you need to do to pass your test. Right. So
when it comes to then the second part, right, the purple teaming and do you call that? Threat hunting and all that.
Yeah.
Do I need? So do I have to stop at because I can't go into the cloud and do the threat hunting?
Oh, yes, you can. You just got to fill out paperwork. You just got to tell Amazon I'm coming hunting. So you want to set out their alarms. They have paperwork. So if you can do a red team test, some people don't tell them, but I always tell them they got paperwork out there. So you just tell them, hey, I'm gonna be on their network. I'm gonna be doing a network scan. So I'm at every port. So if you see that, that's me running the test. No alarms. That's me testing my infrastructure. So now you can do that. And actually, Amazon got bounties, so you can go out and make that Amazon money if you find a bug in their stuff.
Oh wow! Really?
So, yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Because they want you to check their networking, their load balancers. They got all their infrastructure's got vulnerabilities, so they want to make sure they're not opening up anything.
Okay. All right, that's good to know. I'm writing that down. Okay, so do you feel like this threat-based risk profiling is, because they made from reading it, they make it sound like some innovation that people just aren't doing, and I mean,
I mean that the thing about if you do the STIGs do that for you. Because what the STIGs do every year, they work with commercial universities to figure out the most updated attacks and threats. So if you go out and look at the STIG, it tells you what they're trying to block inside their the STIG language when you put those controls on. It says we're doing cross-site scripting because that's been available for 10 years. We're doing command level injection. Once you do this check, you're blocking command level injection. And they tell you on there, go look at the OWASP top 20.
Right.
Because it changes every year. So it says it points you to the OWASP top 20. So they're going to point you to some of the best of breed stuff inside their checks.
Right. Okay. All right.
I think some of that stuff is just how you make money, the newest thing. Because they've been talking about zero trust networks for 10 years, but since SolarWinds hit and everybody's got zero trust networks now, everybody's selling that. That's the hot thing. I'm like, dude, that's been out for 10 years, but since SolarWinds, everybody's got a product for you.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know a lot of it is money driven. So they have here a maturity level in this thing. You know what? Let me share the screen so you can see what I'm looking at. Now I'm not sure.
Is that the CMM? Is that the CMM maturity level?
No, it's hold on, let me make it bigger.
Yeah, make that a little bigger.
I know your eyes.
Yeah, I'm old. I'll make that a little bigger so I can work with it. I don't know why I'm gonna get these glasses. I got insurance. I need to go and buy these glasses.
Can you see that? I need to make it. Let me see.
Little bigger. Give me a couple more little hits on that.
I got you.
Okay, I'm good. I'm good now.
All right. So this is the maturity model that they have. So over here they got the maturity level and the percentages for these areas.
Yeah.
So this is I don't know what this is.
I mean, the Fedramp does that because if you look at Fedramp, they have the 20 policies. Those policy maps to those. I always call them security families. They're not quite security families, but if you look at those, NIST has about 20 of them, so they actually cover a lot more than that.
A lot more than this right here.
Yes.
Okay.
Because they're big when they just added was third-party assessments, because they kind of envision SolarWinds going to happen. So I review all the software that comes into the agency I work for.
Now, how does that happen? How do you make that review? Because from what I read about SolarWinds is we
wouldn't have caught that, but go ahead and finish.
So you said that's what I was going to ask. Like, how would you catch something like that? How would you catch a digital signature being put on something, or all the stuff they did? How would you? The weird
thing is the vulnerability they used. They found out 5 years ago, but then they said nobody could get to the base level of the infrastructure to be able to do that hack. That's the crazy thing. It was called like the golden key or the golden hack. The check that the STIGs had in there, I think would prevent it is if you had a host-based firewall on most of your servers, you would have stopped all the lateral movement. So they probably would have been stuck on the web server. Those are hard to do. So that's a big thing now, is stopping east and west traffic. Because like I said,
why is that hard to do?
Because you're actually duplicating your firewalls. So say like you go on Cisco, if you got a Cisco standard 3-tier network, you got a web tier, an application tier, and a database tier. So you control your network coming from north to south.
Yeah.
So when it comes to one tier, then you check the ports, you make your attack surface smaller because you only open them like 10 points instead of the 65,000 points. But now I got to do that same check on my host-based firewall. But the problem is if I'm Facebook or somebody's big, Facebook's got 42,000 servers around the world. So now you got to duplicate those firewalls on every host if you're doing Windows-based firewalls. The other way, people trying to do NXX from Cisco, there's like 4 or 5 ways to stop east and west traffic. You could put them in a container. You could put them in Kubernetes or Docker. So if you go to, I'll put it in the chat. If you go to NIST has a zero trust network section where they actually work with 4 or 5 vendors, and they tell you how to set up for that particular vendor in case you're using that vendor. So Microsoft's telling you how to do it. Cisco's telling you how to do it. Open source Docker's telling you how to do it. So depending on your technology stack, there's a bunch of different ways to do it.
Now that you mentioned that, I mean, I don't want to go off topic, but is it true that you can't use Docker with Kubernetes anymore? What changed?
I don't know. I just saw that where Kubernetes doesn't have support for Docker. I would never run them together anyway, but a lot of people do.
I thought they were meant to run together or something.
You can run them separately because they do the same thing, but they each has different functionalities.
Yeah.
Kubernetes real good with orchestration and building. But if I'm an Amazon guy, I can use the Amazon build to build it. I don't need Kubernetes. So,
okay.
And Amazon, of course, got they EQS, which is their Amazon Kubernetes that you can spin up with a click of a button. They got the Amazon Dockers you can spin up with a click of a button. So I'm working on a couple of Java apps. So I'm going to put some stuff out there. Then I'm going to try to use their Amazon Docker services.
Okay.
They got services for Docker and Kubernetes, which I was surprised with. Then I'm like, well, Amazon does everything. So
I guess. I heard Bezos getting into going to the moon and all this other kind.
Bezos, yeah, he done made his money. He's actually been, which is cool, and I kind of like what he did. He been hiring younger guys and let them run it because he's to a point now in his life. He like, man, it's just so much stuff. He's kind of like at that chairman of the board type thing. I'm just gonna set direction and go play with my Rockets, man. My ex-wife took his ex-wife took half his money. That Bezos about to go chill on Bahama Island, man. So,
right. He took half, but he still got what?
Man, he doing all right.
I know he's doing fine.
Like Chris Rock, if you make 30,000 and she take half, now you got a problem. Got a couple billion, you can spare them, But Jeff Bezos got that stock. He gonna make another 100 million next year, man.
I'm sure.
Nah, he all right.
All right. Okay, I think that's all the questions I had. Like I said, this white paper was not very detailed, so I didn't really even understand.
Yeah, if you go out to fedramp.gov, they got excellent documentation out there about FedRAMP, how to get certified. Two, as you asked me a question, I'm gonna jump onto this. How do I review software? Depending on what it is, the level of security. Is it in our flat network protected zone? There's different levels of security and zones we have. So depending on the level zone. So you're gonna look at encryption. That's the big thing. Encryption at rest, encryption at transit. If it's a big company, they don't have their policies and procedures down. So we can just focus on, let's get down to the nitty gritty. And a bigger company too is system security plans. So they usually have a system security plan with diagrams because I want to look at your network traffic. I want to make sure everything is encrypted. I want to make sure you're saving your files, hopefully in the database. But if not, where you saving them? What keys are you using? Are you using the best practices of security?
So you know what? I wonder how far into the system do we go with security? Like, do you get to? Is there a stake, for the kernel space versus the user space? I mean, like, what's happening in there? Is there anything,
it's actually in there. If you look at the STIGs, the STIG goes pretty deep. If you look at a Linux STIGs, they talk about which nobody's really done lately, is they really want you to have memory encryption. So if somebody dumps your memory, they wouldn't be able to read it. Most memory is not encrypted. So most people can't pass that check. So the cool thing with the sticks, though, it's like, okay, we know we need to get there. How do we get there? And this is a vulnerability. Then, like you said, the threat part about it is somebody dump our memory, how much stuff we got in the memory? Is it just a few records or is it the whole database? Now we can start talking about that threat-based attack. Because with the sticks, that's going to show you what you're vulnerable to. Because people don't realize, and that's why a lot of people give up, a small architecture in the stick is going to be about 3,000 checks.
And that's why they primarily don't want to do it, because it's too much.
Right. Yeah, you got it. But I tell people it's different departments. Like I'm going to have my SAs do the Linux. I'm going to have my DBAs do the database. I'm going to have my networking team do that. I'm going to have my web server team do my app and my web server. So it's not the same team. But it's in the first time you're doing it is daunting, because when I did my first one 11 years ago, it's part of the web team. I'm like, oh my God, there's 500 checks here. Then you read them, and sometimes you got to read them like twice. But like I said, I've been doing it for a decade now, so I done seen most of them. But they don't really change a lot.
Can you do one thing and it be applicable to other stuff, or is it just one and one?
Well, it's one-on-one because the sticks usually do it for your technology. So you got a stick for Oracle database that's going to focus on your vulnerabilities and locking down the database for Oracle. It's Oracle-specific checks. Now, I'm a Java guy, so I'm going to have Tomcat as my application server and Apache as my web server. So they're going to have specific checks for those individual things to make sure it locks down. Right? So that's why it's kind of, it takes a lot of bandwidth to do. But the cool thing is once you do them your first couple of years, then you're not changing them much because they don't change very often.
So what do you think about, so two more questions. First of all, SCAP. Do you use SCAPs?
Yeah, they use SCAP for the stick. Yeah. DBAs can run an open SCAP and it'll tell them the vulnerabilities. So they set the stuff in the Linux or Red Hat or Ubuntu, then open SCAP will run through and check them and make sure they got set right.
Okay.
So then two is, and some of that too is we know we can't do this check because it's going to break our app, right? So now we said, okay, we got this open finding. What's our mitigating control? Because we know we can't set this because it's going to break our app. So that's where the threat-based model come in, right? Because I had 100 checks. I put 80 of them on. I got these 20 open. Okay, now, so what mitigating controls, like you said, what attackers can take advantage of these and what other controls can we put in to block them?
Right.
So that's kind of how that rolls. Then the application development checks, I was just like 350 of those. Oh, cross-site scripting, ejecting, that's going to take over the OWASP 20 and all the OWASP checks for the development team.
Okay. So what about, so something else I read in SolarWinds is that whatever the malware was that they created, it would, if it could tell if it was if it was not on a real network, and if it could sense it was not on a real network, it would not, like, I don't know,
call a command and get the payload. Right. So
it would just stay dormant if it detected that it was in a test environment or something. Like, what the hell is that? Like, well, I mean, how do you?
Well, if you look, it was another article. One guy, I don't know if he was hyperbole. He said when he looked at it, he looked at the different modules because it's a very big piece of code. He said he thought 1,000 people touched that code. He said it looked like it was a whole bunch of people working on it because it was a nation state. So at the top. That's at the top. That's the big boy stuff. So now you talking about, okay, this is Muhammad Ali and you Joe Frazier, so we about to go at it. So, and everybody else is, they nobody, so they're not ready for that level of security.
Yeah.
The cool thing though is FireEye's about that life. Even though they got hacked, they were on top of it. Their controls caught them when they started doing the payload. They were like, what's this funny call? That looks kind of weird. So they found it pretty quick. And the cool thing is they were pretty transparent. Because if I was them, I wouldn't have told nobody, man. I'd have kept it a secret. I want my stock price to drop. I'm like Jeff Bezos. I'm trying to buy my island. Don't tell nobody now. Actually, I think that's going to bring them more money because everybody kind of gave them mad love. So I think that in the end, But I'm thinking at first, hey, y'all might not come back, homie. Y'all the security company, y'all done got hacked. Y'all no good, man. We might not invite y'all back. But
wow, yeah.
But the weird thing is the payload called out. So I'm like, shouldn't y'all firewalls caught that? Because everything call out should go to a certain IP. So why y'all firewalls not catching that? I think that's how FireEye caught it, but all the other people, they were the only one I think that caught it.
Yeah.
Wow. The weird thing I did a video is Microsoft security team that started working with Fire, they made $10 billion last year. I just never security team. I just never thought they were on that level. I never think of Microsoft security at that level, but you start reading about it, they got artificial intelligence stuff. They've been doing Azure for that Jedi contract. They start making that stuff available to the public. But 10 billion, I'm like, with a B? I'm like, oh my God.
They gotta be though, right? I mean, because when you look at it, they're the most attacked, aren't they?
Yeah, but a lot of stuff, I didn't think they would sell it to customers. Right? I just thought it'd be internal stuff you build to win those contracts. I didn't know you would sell it as a revenue stream. That's what I was surprised with. Now, I know they got the best. I just didn't think you would sell it, make it a service and sell it. I'm like, 10 billion? I'm like, oh my God. You got anything else for me? But like I said, Fedramp is it. It makes it easy. It makes it consistent. Then this company's kind of got the seal of approval you can work with. So.
I had another thing, but I totally lost it. I'll think about it. But all right, but that's it. So thank you, Professor Black. That makes things a lot clearer.
Let me know because I did a software assessment. Now I'm gonna do one digging in the Fedramp, just kind of going to documentation. When you get software, the steps you need to go to kind of make sure it's approved and it's passed, and what can you accept and what you cannot. So that's going to be one of my videos.
So what, as far as the development team, okay, what kind of, as they're creating stuff, because I know they have like a process, go to the left or whatever, all of those things.
Yeah, they got the agile. Everybody's agilian. I always tease them. Everybody's agile with the sticky notes. But go ahead.
So do you look at in your assessment? Do you look at
STIGs have application development checks. There's 300 checks where they go over the OWASP top 20, cross-site scripting and inspector. Are you using source control for your code? In case you find a bug, can you roll back? So no, they go through the whole development lifecycle.
Okay.
So that's really big since SolarWinds, because they injected that into that pipeline and they didn't notice.
Yeah, right.
So that's kind of the thing. Are you signing your code and checking it in and matching signatures? Most people don't do that. You just assume your pipeline is decent. So I think that's kind of a new one. Because I looked in there, I didn't really see much. They talk about signing code, but it's more like if somebody's trying to sneak code in from the outside, not in your pipeline. Because I think if it's in your pipeline, you sign it, you just assume it's good.
Exactly.
So they're trying to figure out how to match that up.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Professor Black Ops. I really appreciate. Hey, Keep It Techie. How you doing?
Yeah.
Hey,
that's why you got to do this. That's why I like the STIGs, because the STIGs got checks for everything. Application development, server. But it's hard, and a lot of people balk at it. I always tell people, get your big boy pass on. Like we about this life. Let's get these 3,000 checks done.
So if I want to, become as well versed in the STIGs as you are, what do I need to do?
I would just pick a subject and just kind of focus on it. Like I sent Keep It Techie the STIGs for Ubuntu. He was like, oh, there's a lot of checks. It was like 250 checks. But, it's just a lot of checks. So I used to do Java, and I still do, and I did Apache and Tomcat for the DoD. So I had to do those checks on 200 VMs. So I got really accustomed with those two. Then I started doing a database. And the cool thing is I'm interviewing a CIO. She hired me because I used to do that for DoD, and she hired me to work for the state. She used to send me to other teams to help them when I was at DoD, because I just got good at them because I did them so much.
Okay. Okay.
They're not super hard once you do them like 5 or 6 times, but the first time you look at them, it's daunting because you got like 300 checks and they saying weird DoD terms, and so you just gotta kind of go through it. So
how do I practice?
Just if you want to do Linux, just get Linux and just go through there. The cool thing is it tells you go to this conf file and change the switch. Then they tell you why you're changing the switch and what you're gonna block. It's not hard. They go through and you just do them.
Wait, so where do I go? Which one do you use? Is it Stick Viewer?
Yeah, I go to the Stick Viewer.
Okay.
Then you got to go to the sticks, download them into their stick format, and import them in. Then you export them out in a spreadsheet. And we could walk through that later or now or however you want to do it. So that
unclassified DISA FSO STIG list.
Yep.
All right. But I mean, I don't want to just read them. I want to like actually do what they're telling me to do. Like,
you got to figure out which one. Well, you got to spin up, like we were talking about, spin up your free developer VM in Amazon and get the platform as a service, download Ubuntu and have at it. Keep it techie, help you.
Keep it techie. Do a video on how to do that now so I can practice these stigs.
Keep it techie. He the Ubuntu guy. He the Ubuntu guy.
Because I really do. Like, I really want to practice
the cool thing is I work with this guy. He's the best, one of the top Linux DoD guys in the country, and I'm having him on my channel interviewing. And we're going to talk about stigs, and he's been doing them. He's just phenomenal. Super nerdy, lovely guy. He's just so good. What is now? You done made me put pressure on him.
Okay, don't worry about it.
Bob K. Bob K will be on there. He's like super. He's been doing them forever. He knows every configuration file and Red Hat off the top of his head.
Oh wow!
When I get stuck, he the first dude I call because sometimes I do side work and I get stuck on Linux. So I gotta call Bob K and cut him a check. I'm like, Bob, I'm stuck. He's like, oh, just do that. Go on the conf files, the sys.stl. Oh, that's what you got to set. Set the sticky bit. I'm like, Bob, what the hell's the sticky bit? Oh, the bit. I was like, I don't set sticky bits very often, Bob. But nah, he's the guy for that, though. And I got one of my top DBAs to come on in Oracle. So I'm gonna have different guys talk about the stigs that I'm gonna interview.
Now, what do you do for each of the control policies and procedures? Do you do anything with that?
Yes, you have to. Well, not have to. If I do in a full setup, I'm gonna do the 20 policies, right? Authorization. The cool thing is the stigs tell you which policy that rolls up to. Yeah. Right. So then too is when I fill out their spreadsheet, when I give it to a government agency, they say, what is your access controls? I just do a pull down on the stigs and I just say, here's all the access control. I did this in Oracle. I did this in Tomcat. I did this in Apache. And this shows all the access controls. Incident response for COOP. This is what I did. This is what I set in logging. It tells you this. These are the things you need to log. So it tells you log. So that's the beautiful thing. It rolls up to the control families and the sub families for you. Because access controls got like 11 sub families underneath that family. So that's the beautiful thing about the sticks. It's gonna roll you up. Because when somebody says harden a database from a blue team, like, what does that mean, man? I always say, like, well, I'm gonna do this, and I'm like, well, how are you gonna do compliance? You don't have any requirements for that. The stigs are your requirements to harden. That's why I call it the ultimate blue team. Because people say I'm hardening Linux. What does that mean, and how can I show that we're compliant if you just randomly picking stuff? So the stig says this or it, and this is what we're using for compliance. These are my requirements to harden it. Right? Most people they don't have that. They just said I'm hardening. Okay, well, what are you hardening, man? Right. So you can use the CIS check, STIG, NSA has checks. There's like 4 big checks, but most people don't have requirements to harden. If you ask them what the requirements are, because like you said, from a business perspective, that's how I know what my risk is. I know how many Cat 1s I got open. I know how many Cat 2s I got open. For my Cat 2s, I know what my mitigating controls. Then once we talked about my Cat 2s, I got poems when we're going to fix them. Right. So now I can say, okay, these are my risks. This is what I'm going to have fixed. This is what I got open. What I have open, these are the things I know can attack it. What can I put in front? Or, if I got all these Cat 1s open, we sitting ducks. We shouldn't go, we shouldn't go on production yet. But if you don't have that type of assessment, how are you gonna be able to show the risk to your manager?
Right. So as far as the risk is concerned, like how do you help them understand, like especially for the small businesses, like what is your risk? Yeah.
So when I help them do the sticks, anything Cat 1 open is risky, right? So with that, I can come up with a risk assessment.
Okay.
Because if you can't close these 3 Cat 1s, and I know they're high available, and you can Google the CVEs will tell you if people are attacking that vulnerability or not. Right. So if I know you got these 3 Cat opens, and I look at the CVEs, I'm like, dude, this is out in the wild. You are sitting up. So if you got money in there, that's not a good thing. Now, if you just showing some pictures of a dog, go ahead and roll it out. Now, if you talking about you got HIPAA data where if you become negligent and every record's $1,000, and you got 1 million records, dude, that's $10 million. $10 billion with a B. You might not want to roll that out, player. You might want to press the button. So that's how you take the sticks with the risk and the CVAs. Then you can come up with a risk profile to talk to management. But I always remember, and it took me a long time to figure that that's the management call. I can say this is risky, don't do it, you're gonna lose money. Management like, we rolling, we got money in it, we gonna make some money. As long as you pay me, sir, I gave you my risk. I'm sending you that in email too, so ain't nobody confused. So I got documentation and you got documentation.
Okay. Do you get that a lot? Do you get them saying, we just gonna press the button? Or
no, not anymore, because after people get used to me, they understand I'm looking out for their best interests and their trust. But my thing too is I need to be able to come up with mitigating controls to make the risk smaller.
Yes.
So that's one of the things that I get paid for. Okay, I know your risk. Now, what can I put in front of it? Can I put intrusion detection and prevention thing that will block those CVEs so they couldn't get through? Right. So there's some other thing. Can I put it on? At DoD, we had this thing called the network with all the programs that had wide open vulnerabilities. They weren't high, so we're gonna put them on a separate part of the network, right? So they won't affect everything. So what can you do so that'll lower your risk? Even though this application has high vulnerability, there's no sensitive data, but I need to get it off the network because if somebody can hack it and we're on the same subnet, they can get to me. So I'm gonna put that on a different subnet. Wall that off, right? So then I can focus on the security there. So you just got to come up with the mitigating controls to make sure you can lower the risk. So that's what you're trying to do. But the cool thing is you got to understand what risks you have to figure out what you need to lower.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people are missing that.
Right. And I think that's I think that's true too.
And the other part is the people your favorite subject is once I get that set up, then I can get the hackers to come in, the ethical hackers to see,
you said my favorite.
If I'm good. We ain't thinking like a hacker anymore over here. We ain't thinking like a hacker no more over here. So I get my red team to come over and test the blue team. So I always tell if I use a stick, I'm the ultimate blue team. So I think they got the best. So at DoD, once every 3 years, they have a red team come out and test your stuff to figure out where you're at. And then we have them outside the network, then we let them inside the network. Because sooner or later, they're going to get in. So we let them inside the network with some low privileges and see if they can escalate it.
Okay.
So that's kind of the 3 levels. You're out. Okay, we're going to let you in like you got in with a low privilege. Now let's see what you can do. You're in the network. But like you talked about, east and west traffic, lock them down, host-based firewalls, containers.
Do you have another team in there with them, like trying to, like a threat hunting team to see if they can find where they are?
No. We say that for later. But really, what we want to do is once the red team leave, we might have a hunting team in. We want to see if they can break in. We don't want the hunting team to stop them. We want to see how good is our setup. We want to see how good is our setup. Now, later on, after they leave, we might have a hunting team come, like you said, look at the logs. Can you figure out how they got in? Can you figure out what they did? They're going to write it up, but can our hunting team actually figure out? Because they're going to tell you how they got in. And, Alpha Cyber, shout out to Alpha Cyber. That's what he do. Kenny Conjo, those some guys that do penetration testing. So once they get in, they're going to write a report. Then we're going to have our hunting team to come in and see if they can actually look at the logs and figure out how they actually did it. But we don't want to stop our red team because they're going to tell us if we're really configured securely.
Okay. Okay.
Right, because we saying we got the ultimate blue team, we locked down. So now you're gonna prove if we're really locked down or not, right?
So okay, my last question for real. Okay,
no, you good.
So one of the issues with where I worked in government before I got out is after the hack became public, these people hardened so many things. I mean, it was hard.
I heard
to
you say that.
We
always
could,
do
the
that.
work was crazy. I mean, I don't understand.
No, that's normal because you're gonna overreact now because you didn't do what you're supposed to do. You didn't understand the risk, so you're gonna overreact.
But how do you work? How should they be working with the people who are doing the work so that they can, yes, okay, we messed up. Okay, and now we need to do something different, but we don't want to do it so that you can't even do your job anymore.
But the pendulum's gonna swing. They're gonna lock you down. Then 3 months from now, management gonna figure out we ain't making no money and we ain't getting nothing done. So y'all gonna need to ease up IT. So I mean that's normal.
Okay.
IT overreacted. Management's gonna be like, dude, we love you, IT, but we got to make money, right? Let's go get carried away. So that's just a normal reaction because they didn't do what they need to do to says, okay, this is our vulnerability. This is the risk, and this is how that'll happen. Because if you knew that, you would say, okay, that was a risk. We understood it, right? Or there was a piece of it we didn't understand. Now that we know what SolarWinds is, we need to work on our east and west traffic, and we need to sign the actual keys to pull them out because they were just pulling out people's privileged keys and logging in Azure and reading people's email because nobody thought you could do that. So now how do we sign out my key to make sure it's my key that I can get? It's not some random thing. So one thing people did is there's a thing called conditional access where it says my computer is actually an organizationally owned computer because my domain joins in it. They didn't do that. So once the hackers got in, they were just using any computer and just doing it. But I don't think they weren't forcing them to use agency-owned equipment. What is your question, though? So
as far as, because I heard you say a couple times, nobody really knew that you could do that, So how, like, why aren't blue team members finding 0-day type things? Like, what do we need to do to find that kind of, I mean, it's our system.
Right, but for me, though, I don't think that's, blue team's job is not to find a 0-day. Blue team's job to say, okay, we know there's going to be a 0-day. There's always going to be a 0-day. Yeah. So if there's a 0-day, that's what zero trust is. It assumes anything on your network has been hacked. So I'm assuming that my machine's hacked, that the 0-day is taken over. So how can I prevent my machine that I know is hacked from spreading that malware?
Okay, so it's not their job to find the 0-day. It's to assume that
0 days on there. So what are you going to do? If my machine's vulnerable, right? A low-level person getting on your network as a vulnerable shouldn't be hired. The thing is, how do they do privilege escalation to be able to do the task? The problem was when I did my research is SolarWinds, when you install their agent, it was installed with admin privileges on there. It should have never been installed with admin. So once the malware came out of the agent, it was already there. It was admin. So now I could start running amok freely.
Yeah.
So the question is, why was that agent installed as admin? It should have been just installed to push the logs and read the logs. Why does it have to be admin? Right. Because now there was no privilege escalation. It was already at admin.
Right.
Wow. So the threat hunters and the red team is gonna find a 0-day. Me as blue team, I should assume my machine already has a 0-day, and that's gonna get in. Right. But I should be able to trap it in my network so it wouldn't be able to move laterally. As we was talking about east and west traffic, it shouldn't be able to move with east and west traffic so easily.
Right. So trap it, you said. How would you trap it?
Like we talked about, you could do a host-based firewall. If I had a VM side of Docker, what happens is when I get on a subnet, I can move around on that subnet. So around, if I got it in Docker and I took over one VM, I can't go through the other Dockers because those Dockers can't talk to each other because there's no reason for the web servers on that tier to be talking. But most people, everybody on that one tier can talk. So if you lock them down in Docker, they wouldn't have been able to move. So
yeah. So what about the what is that called? Where like you're managing, like you're managing all the switches and stuff, but you're not on the same network managing them. You're on a totally different.
Yeah.
Like what is that?
What is that called? Bastion host. We call that being on a Bastion host. So theoretically, your Bastion host is locked down. It's a machine. It's the only thing you really can do telnet. So that machine, you can work on different machines.
Yeah.
But it's on a different subnet, and that's the only thing. Its only job is to work. And so we were trying to figure out, okay, do you need a Bastion host for each tier? Like a Bastion host for the web tier, a Bastion host for the app, Bastion host for the database?
A lot of money though. Right?
Bastion hosts are small. No, because you're just spinning up a small VM. The only thing you're doing is SSHing and working from it.
Okay.
So then 2 is to get to the host is, do I have my own personal key? So those are stuff, we kind of been talking about at a high level. How would you lock that down?
Yeah. Okay.
Or 2 is a lot of people thinking about spinning up virtual desktops to work on that stuff. So if your desktop had a 0 day, I'm gonna tear down that desktop and spin up another one the next day. So unless it got out in like 4 or 5 hours while I was working on it, it would just get destroyed when I destroyed my virtual desktop.
Okay. Is that something y'all are talking about too?
Yeah. So we're talking about virtual desktop. Then 2 is, should you do your same work on your primary work and your admin work on the same machine? Because if I'm just surfing the net on my regular account, if I log in as my privilege account, now I'm on the same machine as it capturing my login as for my DBA, right? So those be separate machines. Can we spin up a different VDI virtual machine to work on that? So those are some of the stuff they've been kind of throwing around and kicking around. Okay, that's part of the zero trust. Zero trust is putting that out there. So
I'm glad to hear that. That's good. Those conversations. That's awesome. All right, Professor Blackops, thank you it's always so nice when you come on. You're a well of information. I mean, just, an expert in so many things. I really appreciate it.
Just been doing a long time. I always enjoy it. I always laugh when you say, we're not thinking like a hacker. I'm like, you cutting out the young cool guys. It's all gonna be nerdy guys. It's all the young cool guys.
Okay, hold on, stay there. Kareem is here. Hey, Kareem.
What's going on, party people?
What's going on, man? Doing? Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too, sir. How's it going up there?
Hanging out with my favorite person, man, chopping it up. Chopping it up.
Cool.
What's up, Kareem? You got something to ask or say to me or Professor Blackops?
No, I was just chiming in. I didn't know if you guys had just started or was wrapping up.
No, go ahead.
I had a interesting, as you the other day made your comment about the hackers and getting on us. I was thinking about what just happened in Houston, and true story, the policy guys were in their little $3,200 a night room staring at their phone like a Catholic high school girl waiting on pregnancy test results. And we were in 20, 21 degree weather, with a 10-degree wind chill, trying to keep about $300 billion worth of information from not being able to be accessed. Wow. And I just wanted to say, because I know typing, it doesn't always translate. And I won't repeat what you said because I don't want people taking that context, but you remember what you said. But the reason why it's like that is because when we're out there getting almost every 30-second notices that everything's about to go down, your potential hot sites, even if they're in somewhere just above Dallas, everyone who knows about Plano and et cetera, know what I'm talking about. Are y'all getting the echo or is it just me?
No, I don't hear an echo.
Just you. You sound clear to me.
I'll fix it on mine. I just want to make sure I'm not echoing. when you're sitting there and I'm not answering my phone, you come find me, put me on not Osprey, but Seahawk, and have me and about 2 other people, but that thing loaded down with about a quarter ton of equipment to get it out there. That's why, because whoever is in charge, whoever wrote the policy, Professor Black noticed, they don't know when something happens and, oh my Lord Jesus, come save us.
No,
and I'm
true.
sitting there going, I told your ass way before this. And I go back to Hurricane Katrina with Stone Mountain, same thing. If you know anything about New Orleans, one of the biggest vaults Stone Mountain has is in New Orleans. Look, go back to 2005. I remember when we had scuba gear and was going about 25 feet under fresh water to retrieve shit.
Wow.
People don't talk about that side of the cybersecurity aspect.
Wow.
It's different tiers. One of the reasons why I go back to my Pen Test Plus, CISA Plus, because here's what I've noticed. I go all the way back to when, I look at 20, 30 and I go, I remember when the CISSP was it. Now there's 4 of those. There's a specific test specific for hospital information.
Yep.
I go all the way back to when Clinton signed HIPAA into law. And remember CIPA. CIPA went through 2 phases. It was COPA, where it says Children Online Protection Act, then for the Children Inline Protection Act, which basically says you can't take their personal information without parent, guardian, whatever information. That gets more complicated because you look at states like Cali, look at New York, look at Maryland. I know how to say Maryland, but got family that make me say it's the Maryland. But anyway,
Maryland, I got you.
It gets more complicated when it goes to policy.
Yeah.
You look at my adopted home, Atlanta, and a lot of states down there where human trafficking is a big deal. They've come up all of a sudden with all kind of laws for some clients because, true story, here's something happened. I won't say the school system. They'd given students MacBooks and given them Chromebooks and all that. And you had little girls and some boys soliciting Johns from that tablet issued by the school. And the school system was all of a sudden oblivious. We didn't know they could do that. Well, how were you monitoring them? How were you controlling them? How are you, who's in charge of turning that off and on? Okay, then you had teachers who were harassing, each other with it. Well, once again, where's your checks and balances? Where's your basic, hey, don't do this if you want to keep your job. I look at a private school system that's got the money to pay for that. Whole different situation. I'm not going to pick on St. Pius too bad, but St. Pius is part of the Atlanta City public school system, but they're actually run by the Catholic Archdiocese. How they handle a situation, whole lot different than Benjamin Mays. Whole lot different from anybody else.
Right.
And so it breaks down to not in case shit happens, shit has happened.
Yeah.
I got a quick question for you.
What's going on, bro?
What's your thing on incident response? But we're supposed to be practicing that, What's your take on that? I mean, practicing in real life is 2 different things, but practicing kind of gets you halfway down so you ain't too crazy when it happens. What's your thoughts on incident response?
It goes back to my acceptable risk analysis and what you were talking about earlier about, everything's fine until it's not. Incident response now, I can say, has gotten a little bit better in some places and still remains worse in others. I'll give you an example. Financially, they're not fucking around.
Yeah,
they're serious about their money. Same thing with Disney and Universal, who just moved out to Atlanta now. They're not fucking around. When you get to, say, a school system where, and I'm just saying, the thing they miss is that with a school system, let's look at now everything you put on a teacher. In some school systems, they put everybody in there together, which means you have a child that has autism there, you have a child that may have something else going on, and you have terminally ill kids where, guess what you've introduced now? You have health information that you have to let the teacher know what's going on. But the only good thing about having to go almost all virtual now is that you can't run from it. It's hitting you in your face now. And so when you start looking at, situations, I've seen situations recently where, like Professor Black mentioned, I know a hospital that dropped almost, $3 million behind employee who was selling patient records. Wow. Now, if you look at what's going on almost 30 years after HIPAA, how did HIPAA come about? You had a person who lived that lifestyle, who had HIV, who just so happens was the brother of a congressman, who knew Bill Clinton's brother, who lived that lifestyle of HIV, and all of a sudden we got HIPAA. I look at some things that used to happen at old Emory East or Clayton Women's Facility. Young ladies would go there from University of Georgia. They got pregnant or had an abortion or something like that. You always have that, evil stepmom or even a mom find it out, tell dad her money cut off. So now we have to go back and look at how to protect that. Same thing with I'm just using Grady as an example, but anyone from the Atlanta metro area know what I'm talking about. People who are drug addicts, who are going through treatment. Here's the funny thing about that. You know what gets a lot of teachers in trouble in Atlanta metro area? Drug abuse. But confidentiality says, okay, she may not lose her teaching certificate. That information is private. How you have a whole market where they can take your ID, not your name, your picture, pull up your health records, and nobody knows how. It's the black. No, it's not. It's not. The lies they tell about incident response are just that. It's cut and dry. Yes, you've done or doing this. Yes, it's something that through software or through hardware or whatever, or through regular personnel sweeps you can change, or you're waiting for something to happen. The security through obscurity has always been a problem. Microsoft, you can't get past the login, and I'm going to talk of 3.1 work groups, NT. Those of us that remember, hit that old escape key, get in as a guest.
Yeah.
So your response is going to be, look, you somebody who's got hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars of assets who ain't playing. Somebody who's saying we're part of the Department of Defense. We're going to follow now the new 8140 or what have you. Some other, federal guidelines, whether it be Navy, Army, Air Force, Space Force now, whatever. Or you're going to do like what I've seen sometimes, their response, and I'm not making this up, lower you up and point the finger at somebody else.
Oh, wow.
That's something that, it amazed me how many times I am a witness in a federal case behind just dumb shit that if you just done like this, you said, okay, your revolving door. There are certain people every 3 months, 6 months, you're going to fire. Give you an example, something recently happened. I had a municipality all of a sudden had almost $500,000 worth of meters walk out of the building. They didn't find out for 3 months later. Well, how did we get to the bottom of it? Here's a response to that incident. You had 3 things happen. You had a guy who was a contractor lost his contract. His card key still worked. Fortunately, the cameras we had mounted and the backups, it wasn't like it used to be where it was just an eye looking at you, nowhere to record it. We could go back almost 4 months with the storage option we bought. Side note, people, as part of your response, pay your goddamn cloud services. Don't sit there and assume, well, if I don't pay them, it's my shit, I can get it back. No.
Right.
If you don't pay them, they lock your shit up. You got to lower you up, pay double because you got attorney's fees and whatever they're going to charge you for holding your shit, and to retrieve it, pay them. The cloud is not this mystical, magical place where it's rainbows and unicorns and kids holding hands, beating freezer with a piñata. It's not that shit. It's a business. So now we go back to what I was saying about how we caught the dude. Looked at the key card access and realized, wait a minute, this cat hadn't been here in a couple of months. Fortunately, had a way to retrieve the video. There he is. He had got almost $500,000 of the meters that go on the side of your house.
Yeah.
He was dropping them bad boys on the market.
Wow.
Cuz was getting paid. And he wouldn't have gotten caught, except here's what happened. We had to shake up in leadership. And so naturally hadn't had an audit in who knows how long. The new leader leaves, the new guy comes in and just does a little bit of due diligence. Notice the equipment's missing. Now, let's just say we didn't have a new leadership change, or, all of a sudden he stole the wrong one, or say, for instance, in some of the areas I'm in, we have frequent hurricanes and tornadoes. That's every year, guaranteed. And you don't find out till then. Well, guess what? The municipality has to replace that equipment. And if you didn't have, it's work in progress. The reason I say work in progress because of the high amount of it, and because of municipality, you got their insurance, and then you also have the liability of the municipality to protect that stuff. Because remember, yes, he was behind a locked door, but you still gave someone keys that shouldn't have had them.
Right.
And so, that's how he got, caught with that equipment. But it goes back, like I said, everything's all right until it's not. And that's something that it's just a normal part. I can go back to 99, Y2K. I can come forward until, 2001, first Internet of Things. Everything is cyber, all that horse shit. And then coming into, you stop and think about something. Cyber was a term that a science fiction writer came up with.
Yeah, the necromancer, I think. Is that the book?
It's all that. What was it? Traveler's Guide to Space, something like that. All that. And then that's why I always say information technology, information security, because that's what it is. Whether you're protecting a data center, which, getting back to Houston, look how funny this is now. They show you how God works. They made a decision to go to Houston. Hurricanes. Nobody knew that. Who the hell knew there'd be in a damn blizzard in Texas?
I know.
Those of us who might have lived in Texas or were stationed in Texas know I've been in Dallas around this time of the year, 28 degrees, ice, rain, and sleet in Texas. I've seen snow on the ground in El Paso. So I didn't say it was impossible. I'm just saying, how do you sit here now flat-footed talking about the wind turbines are frozen solid and a goddamn 20-mile-per-hour wind can't turn that bitch?
Wow.
We've seen this before. When they first did it about 20 years ago, I'm finna go back. You remember when they tried to make Unix boxes a thing at Walmart? Back when you could buy Sonic Wall devices, which was old Network Associates. And remember that jackass said, Linux is going, really? Seriously, how many horror stories can we remember, all those old enough, of people throwing those damn things through windows of Walmarts because it wasn't Windows? No one's going to get on a command line. Nobody's going to get on a command line. And that goes back to what I say about response. Sometimes you make things harder on yourself than you have to be. And responses are varied. You can do the right thing like we do. Okay, what can we do? What can we help mitigate? How can we compensate? Then you have it's wrong in my opinion, but right from a business standpoint, lower the fuck up and point fingers.
Right.
That's a part that I'm noticing now more and more is becoming what's happening, because you look at SolarWinds. You have to remember, there were lawyers involved before the press conference came out. And then as a security person, hate to say it, CISA guys, this falls in your lap more and more. See, I come from an era where you had to do all of it. And in interviews would ask a person, how well can you communicate? You're going to talk to C level, you're going to talk to some B level, you're going to have to communicate, and then you're also going to have to do what you need to do. You look at modern terms, and the only reason why I pick on pen tests on them, because that's the ones recently I've had the most experience with. And like I said, I did the Security Plus again and passed it in January. The thing that hurt my feelings is how they lie to y'all about what you're getting into. I remember when I was taking the test, I basically, me being me, just came off the street, did it, made my little 812, what it is, and went on about my day. Poor little girl, me and her had been in a boot camp together. She didn't pass it. She got so upset, she walked outside, face planted. Pow! Ooh. And I was like, because I thought she had got pushed, so we ran out because we was at the testing center still. And poor little girl, but come to find out, she was at said base. 8140 just kicked in. They had let her know, you don't get this cert,
you'll get
you ain't
fired.
gonna have no job.
Yeah, DOD was like that when I was there. You had to get your 8140 Security Plus. But originally they said CISP, and a lot of people was panicking. And they had to Security Plus.
Let me tell you, I come from an era where I had to fly to DC to take the lab part of CISSP. So anybody that come at me talking that bullshit about, well, you've been in so long, how is this? And then that's why I got this new Security Plus. Because when I start pulling up Security Plus, my pen test, the CASHAPP, all that stuff, and you find out I've been to CISSP since damn near 2004, you lost your job. Because that's my risk assessment. That's my risk response. Because you know what the fuck you doing. You know who you talking to. Plus, I've been in this long. You've been on the face of this earth. You ain't been out of boot camp 5 years. So I'm gonna make sure you get sent to Alaska. You can learn to close your goddamn mouth. Because it's like that. Because when you talk about internal problems, and I'm picking on the federal government right now, you have a lot of that.
Yeah.
You have a lot of that. And they'll be running their mouth and they won't know what the fuck they talking about. They'll get some type of free online security training. Some kind of way got an ethical hacker. I'll say, okay, when I hear you make these statements, you in trouble. Do I have to know Python or Ruby or VB? Okay, you're a hacking expert. You know how modules work. What kind of question is that when I know damn well once you open up those modules to verify a couple of things? Now, professor, it's going to vary. Your experience may vary from mine and what you've done or doing currently, but I'm just giving you some things I can say from November to now. You open up them damn programs, there's clear text, username and passwords in the code.
Yeah, always.
Then you have the geniuses who are professionals who might not have the clear text, username and passwords in there, but you can find where they have a server that the program called out to give them those credentials. How the hell you gonna find that, read that, decide that out of the obfuscation and all the shit that's stored in the code if you don't know Python, SID, grep, Ruby on Rails, a little bit of Hadoop, VB. You go back to VB script, you go back to JavaScript. I'm old enough to remember when there was a debate, well, is a markup language really a programming language? What's the difference between the script and the script language? I'll be damned if you go to some of the new entry-level information technology programs and they have a whole section, script, scripted, markup, compile base. And I'm like, where did this come from? When you talk about that skill set and how varied and how up-to-date it has to be, and like I said, my motivation is money. That's why I always keep mine up, because I'm going to say it, 300 pounds, 800 pounds in the room, I'm black. Regardless of what color my dad is or was, got arrested, I'm black. There's certain shit we go through and we have to prove that everybody else don't. Just like when you had the little, whether they white, black, Jamaican, whatever, running their mouth, they talking shit. Well, did you pass City Plus? I got 2 more times to take it. You got 2 more times to take it. No, the fuck you don't. If you look at 1 time and you gonna pay another $600, take it 2 times. And see, that's the thing that's hurt my heart, because I know those. That's like I made the comment about $400 mistake, $1,200 mistake. If your job requires you to have something in CISSP realm, great. If you're a Cisco house, great. But it was a young lady I was watching who graduated from Montgomery University up around your way, who didn't know, don't ask me why, that Security Plus, to take it one time, no repeats, none of that, was $400. And you could see it in her face. Whoever told her to do it set up to fail because she legit didn't know. And then she was like, "This costs $370." Yes, sweet pea. Let me give you an example of what I just did. $700 for the boot camp. Turned around and paid the $400 for the test on the first attempt. Made a 800 plus. Got the new Security Plus. Went on about my day. So when I won't say the name, jackass challenged me, and then all of a sudden, my bachelor's, my graduates, all the certifications I've had over the last 20 years come up, wondering why I all of a sudden didn't like them much. This cat hadn't been out of boot camp 5 years. It's been 20 plus years since I graduated OTS. You follow me?
So what do you mean, Kareem, when you said that the industry lies to them? Like you said something like that. What
because they make it sound like the old 1970 stereotype that goes back. Anybody familiar with the movie Sneakers?
Oh, I do. I love that movie.
Yeah, that goes back to the days of when only certain people had internet. Okay. That stereotype of the young, wide-eyed, out of shape, fat, usually white guy goes back to the 70s. When you come to the Angelina Jolie movie, The Hackers, if you watch that movie, dumpster diving,
right?
They harassed him through social engineering. Think about it. When he crawled up on the lady's desk, put the little turtle, what we call a turtle now, that's monitoring traffic, where they can monitor the FBI in there. Remember now, this is 95. That movie soon be 30 years old. And there's a movie that visualized what we're still fighting doing now. When you talk about the turtle, we got information coming in, coming out. Well, what is that? A man in the middle. Well, if you look at the new test, that's an on-point attack. Remember when man in the middle is one thing? There's man in the middle, man in the browser, water hole attack. Stop me if I'm lying now. Anybody chime in?
No, you do.
You look at that part. Then you look at the phone freaking. Yes, there used to be a guy that used to take whistle tones.
Yeah, I read about that.
And get calls.
Yeah.
You go back to those two movies. War Games is a classic. No. Sneakers, Hackers. Then go back and fact check and see what it was. Like when the dude said, we're sitting next to Pendulette, Echo 8, let's see what's up. Nobody catches that. How in Python do you get text without using the with statement? I'm going a little deep. I'm taking a deep cut now. How do you do that? Or let's go back to an easy one. In Linux, what's the way without piping or forwarding information do you get to come to the screen? You do what? Professor?
I'm thinking.
What? Echo.
Oh, that is true. It is echo.
Echo port number, blah, and then it'll show you everything you need to know.
Yeah, because I was
that's what I'm saying about
that movie. I was thinking because when Keith Tech interviewed me, he was laughing because when that movie wasn't no Google, because I was telling him I was on my stomach with a bunch of manuals trying to figure something out. I couldn't type, wasn't no Google, homie. I had to get manuals out. We laying on our stomachs.
The original Rainbow series? Who remembers the original Rainbow series? If you look at the books they told you now, they're out of date now. The IBM pink shirt book, the original DOD Rainbow series. I'm an O'Reilly fan. I'll go back to days of Satan, Saint, before Snort. When I was with Network Associates, I supported, CyberCop, Net Nanny, Sonic Wall, all that stuff like that. So when you we move forward to how they've taken Satan and Saint and they've put it on Kali and they're calling it, Metasploit and this and another. Let's go back to Metasploit. Those modules you can alter and change. What throws them off is when you have a section that's Python, a section that's VB script, a section that's Java. Well, how did they throw the SQL in there after meaning something? And they say, I'm showing my age, but I remember when Oracle was a FLAC file. No. Now you have
was that 6 or 5.5?
Thank you.
I've done Oracle for 20 years, so I got to chime in on that. I've done Oracle for 20 years.
You know what I'm saying? You went from a FLAC file to almost a terabyte of shit, and you don't have not one video there.
Oh my God! Yeah.
You don't have a video there. You got maybe some pictures. You got maybe a couple of audio tracks, but as far as actual full blown audio, visual, 10K, 4K, shit, 480. That's not there yet. You know, remember when saving videos to a database was a big deal?
Oh, I do.
You know, remember when access databases being able, oh wait, I'm gonna throw a term out there. Who remembers object-oriented programming being a thing?
Me, I did it in Oracle.
C++.
I did it in
then
Oracle.
C#. Yeah. But now I'm gonna take it back. Windows workgroups 3.1. Object-oriented environment. We're not. How many? I can't tell you how much money I used to make from installing DOS, then putting 3.1, 95, 98 was a change where you didn't have to install DOS 6.2.2. But people don't know that DOS hadn't went anywhere. They're financial institutions. Tell you what, your check cashing places, your loan shark, where you write a check and come back and pay their loans. Mm-hmm. You'd be surprised how many of them use a DOS-based situation. That I'll be damned if they ain't using something like Visual Cafe for Visual COBOL. How old is that technology? And that's with your PCI, Sarbanes-Oxley, Clans-based. That's all of that saying, thou shalt. But no, I'm a little loan shark in bumfuck Iowa. You know, I'm trying to help the people. But then you go out of business, true story, something happened. They had a, what do you call them? Cashier check machine. They had blank cashier checks. They went out of business. Some young, energetic crooks stole. Well, I won't say stole, because when you go out of business, I've helped repossess servers, entire server farms. Sometimes I'm talking about I had to repossess them because they didn't pay, had to get their stuff out of there or go get it from site. And they were running around printing out cashier's checks. But see, the cops were like, how did they figure this out? They must be genius. I said, no, the fuck they're not. Look at the bottom machine that's in the back of their car. Call that number and find out who's the original owner. Then it's, oh, now you want to charge those young men with theft. I said, wait, before you do that, make sure that that wasn't a decommissioned printer that was supposed to be resold or turned back into NCR or something like that. Well, in the meantime, listen, do that, because your case is gonna be completely out the fucking window if you don't go verify that, because you can't charge them with theft if, let's say, they bought it. Yeah, they've done something illegal with it now, but let's say they bought it. Facts come out, the decommissioned machine wasn't stored properly, they got hold of it, and you couldn't charge them with that, but you could charge them with check fraud, because they were printing out, you know, bullshit cashier's checks. So one thing I want to be straight up with responses to that is that, unlike everybody else, I'm going to quote one of my old professors, Dr. Now, what we do is organic. There is no one right answer all the time. And you have to do your due diligence, do your homework, and understand that levels are different. But when it comes to boots on the ground, I give you an example. Everybody can't be MRSOC Marine. Everybody can't be a PJ. Everybody can't be First Team Delta. Everybody, even though you've earned your Ranger tab, you're not going to be assigned to the 75th.
Real talk. That's why I tell people, I make my money when it gets ugly. That's when I make my money. So that's when it gets ugly.
You don't woke me up out my damn sleep and have a car outside and a goddamn helicopter waiting to take me in the damn freezing fucking weather, cause somebody fucked up. You can blame Mother Nature. You can throw the what do you call it, the geological thing into it. But here's the bottom line. When it happens, you don't give a damn about who wrote what. You want to know who built that goddamn command line, restart those generators, know how to build those machines. That's another part about a lot of us hardware. I've built hot sites on submarines. I've been 5 miles in the air on AWACS aircraft fixing shit. To answer your question, that's why. What you're doing, it sucks to hear that your hard work may not be appreciated, and my heart goes out to you, but understand your hard work is appreciated, but you have to remember something. When it's go time,
Oh, time.
When the policy is over with.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you need somebody who can get on that command line, or better yet, a situation where a hot site is now cold because they're telling you you're going to lose power in 30 minutes. You're going to lose power in 10 minutes. You're going to lose power in 5 minutes. That data can't be not gotten to.
Mm-hmm.
You notice how the world keeps turning, even through September 11th. Planes might have not been going off, but people were still moving their money. But people panic. I come from that area when they said oceans can't protect us. That was something they used to say, the old timers used to say after Pearl Harbor, which basically meant China doesn't necessarily have to invade us to hurt us. Look at Lawrence Livermore Labs back when they had the entire Chinese faction running that. My first thing is, I'm a graduate of Tuskegee University. I know cats from Howard, Hampton, FAMU, Alabama A&M, Boise, Delaware State. Why the fuck weren't we hired? We can pass background checks. You got somebody here that's not a citizen, suspect as hell from a communist country that we may not be friendly with, and everybody in there for 25 people are Chinese nationals, not an American citizen amongst them. But then as I got older and got into the private side, as an American black guy, I'm not the darkest person in the room, but I'm the only English speaker in that room. I worked at Sun Microsystems, particularly at one of the campuses in Atlanta. I'm one of the first people in there, or the only person in there for 3 floors that English is their first language.
What's your take on the H-1B visa going up to 300,000?
Bunch of horse shit. I'm gonna say it point blank. To your point, sister, yes, there are more women, particularly in I'm a little biased, Black Latin women that could be hired, and a lot more of us, Brother Fest, that could be hired. Because I'll give you examples of something that I just found out, talking to a young lady, graduated from University of Texas, San Antonio, cybersecurity undergraduate, got her CISA out of college. Because like University of Texas and other schools, they're requiring their IT information systems people to graduate with some type of certification out the gate.
That's cool.
She got engaged so quick, she hadn't even got into and out of her cap and gown before she was engaged. And I understand the rationale. Cybersecurity undergrad, has a security certification. She's working for a women's group in technology down there. Now, why is that? You could hire her. She hadn't done anything yet. She hadn't got any pictures on any of the social medias, her binge drinking and doing stuff she ain't got nothing to do as far as we know yet. Why ain't you hire her? Why ain't you give her an interview? Why ain't give her a chance? That's what I say about that. My opinion, this is just my humble opinion, and eavesdroppers, cowans, beware, I'm finna trigger you. In my humble opinion, nobody that's not a U.S. citizen that's Black on an H-1B visa, even if it's our brothers and sisters from Kenya or Grenada or the Philippines or India, should have a snowball's chance in hell until the American-born people of African descent Black folk here get a crack at it. Because I know for a fact there are plenty of Black folk that could use that job, who are qualified, who have the skill, who passed the test, who deserve a chance. I don't believe we're so bad. And once again, not to throw off on my Indian and Pakistani family, but riddle me this. How the fuck you come from an environment where you're shitting in your living room, but you're more technically advanced than me, and I've been having running water in this country 100 years? You come from a place where you don't even have electricity half the time. You come over here and get a goddamn technology job.
I don't know. I'm sure it's possible, though. I mean,
no, it's happening.
Yeah,
I know so many people. You know, so many friends. I follow them home. I've been to Mumbai. I've been to Sri Lanka. I've been to those places, and I'm telling you, these people. I'm gonna use Atlanta as a model. And part of Texas, especially going up towards Plano and starts with a J. It's going up 17. But anyway, the ones that actually come from means, they're not fucking with the ones that don't. And they got nothing to do with the skin tone either. I've seen brothers darker than me that run technology companies that when you sit down and listen will tell you, I grew up in a hut around goats and got into school and got over here and started making money. Same thing with some of our African brothers. They have a middle class in Kenya and Nigeria. I mean, imagine how I felt getting to Africa and I found suburbs. You follow what I'm saying? Suburbs. You got some people that didn't come out of them suburbs that are one generation from being Bushmen that have come over here, doctors, everything else. Same thing with my brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. Amazes to me how you come from a place, nothing. And we got people here that went to school, got into debt, and this is what they have. They're people that get preference over them. It's like white boys in the NBA suing. Well, they didn't give me a break because I'm white. They don't think I can play basketball. Well, it's the same thing in certain parts of technology. You know what I'm saying? How do you skip over your own people? That's why I feel about H-1B visas. And don't get me wrong, I have family, friends from the Caribbean all the way to India. Okay. I want you to succeed. Yeah. But I want to succeed too.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So H-1B visas may work, but let me remind you something. And Professor, you know this a little bit, better than some. They're not cheap anymore.
No,
they're not cheap anymore. They're saying it point blank, fuck you, pay me. And they're getting the salaries. You stop and think about when you look at YouTube channels now where you have an Indian girl or Indian dude talking about the top technology salaries. And they're starting out at 90 grand. Let that sink in. An Indian person is talking about salaries from major players, and they're telling you how much that is in American dollars and in rand. Here's one thing.
That's their national thing, though, right? It seems like Indians focus on technology. I'm trying to get some brothers to actually focus on technology. I'm trying to stop talking about high value mans and relationship, and let's focus on
that's what I'm
technology,
saying.
Man.
Right there. That's what I'm talking about. I'm gonna tell you, like I told a person I talk about, because I'm a big Second Amendment advocate. Also, he asked me, "What do I do to get more Black folks into, the culture, and what can I do?" I said, "What you're doing now. You have a YouTube channel. Do what you do now. Talk about training, facilities, uplift, gun groups, Black gun groups, things like that. Now, that's all you can do." Because I think about, I'm gonna name drop, I read Fedramp 8888. I know the pawn shop in Georgia where they used to film at. You went from filming or you were in a pawn shop, none of the guns were yours, just talking about them, doing history on them, to now you built your own little he shed, and gun industry, big dogs are dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars on you. And this is inside of 10 years. What we got to do is what we're doing. What we're doing now is a start. Because what you're doing, Professor, you got to do it. What you're doing, young lady, what you're doing, what I'm doing on the teaching side to try to get as many there. Not because you have to remember, our industry where we are is the truth. The bullshit stops with us. Either yes, you can kind of get it going and mitigate this and other, or no, you can't. And depending on whose money it is, it's just like when 8570 went to 8140. You either got your shit together and keep your job, or you don't. So how you do it is, I'm with you. That's one thing we agree with. I find it real messed up. The Indian cats lead the relationships and all that to the soap operas. When they talking head video and they're standing there looking at you, looking at the camera, they're talking about the top 10 IT certifications. Wrap your head around that. I'm looking at Nigerian brothers that can barely speak English, no offense to them, but they're talking about their experience passing Security Plus or taking the ethical hacker and all that. And all fucking around outside of us three, as far as American, you may be of, of Caribbean or African heritage, 1 or 2 generations. But I'm talking about someone like myself who go back damn near to when Columbus stopped in the Dominican Republic. You know, yeah, we have families that come in of all, you know, situations, but when the black part of me, that's how far back we go. They're not really doing that. They're not talking about the top certifications. They're not talking about the top degrees you can get. They're not talking about the top salary. Now ask them if Jay-Z had on a goddamn pink or mauve suit. The nigga can tell you that shit.
Oh, you bet.
This is my last question. I got one more question for you. I teach too. I teach a local community college. That's my give back. My black females be super focused. My black dudes be, I don't know what the hell they be on. They be kind of flighty. My black females, I don't know, because they got babies. They come in, they be trying to get me to do extra work. I'm like, hey, they don't pay me for extra. That's the thing. But my black dudes, they kind of like flighty, man. I gotta stay on them. I gotta yank them. I gotta give them a little extra time. So
it goes back from my experience too, because I look back, going back to summer of '93 when I was a member of what used to be called the freshman mathematics and computer science track at Tuskegee University. It was a summer program for when you graduate high school, the summer before your first semester at Tuskegee. And I remember there were like 7 or 8 of us that started in that program. Out of that 7 or 8, I think there's 2 of us that actually graduated in computer science. You know, I was one of the first to graduate because I had to make money, had to earn. You know, everybody else got to wait till 98, 99. I got there June 93. I was eligible to graduate May 96. That's how about it I was.
Yeah, I was graduated in 9. That's how mine was. It was like a bunch of black dudes start off in computer science, and the math took them out because you had to take calculus back then.
Yep, you had to take 2 kinds of calculus. It's doing it now. Go check out FAMU's graduation rate. You start out with 60 people, you have 1 graduate.
But the weird thing is I could take to the area of a tornado and I never used it, man. So I don't know. Go ahead.
So that's my thing too. That math bullshit, even when I worked in hardware and helped develop some of the 10 giggy stuff, I never used that shit. But when you find out later, it's to siphon people out. It's to let me help you out with that. Going back to answer your question. It shouldn't get to, with some people, I got a mouth to feed before I take this serious.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. Hold on a second. I got to mute you right quick. Let me go see what my nephew doing. I'll be right back.
All right.
Well,
Professor Black, you can go if
I'm in it now. I'm all in it. My Fridays are usually pretty easy, so we done veered off in another subject. I'm like, what do you think of H-1B visas?
So how many students do you have in your class?
With COVID got cut down my intro. I usually have 20. I think I got like 12.
Oh, okay. That is pretty low.
I got advanced forensics next, and I'm only gonna have about 6 in that class.
Oh, I want to take. How do I sign up for your class? Advanced forensics.
Yeah. Let me see. It might be regular forensics. I need to look.
Mm-hmm.
I got one more question for you.
What? So yeah, answer your question.
We went from H-1B. What do you think about outsourcing? Because Oracle's got 10,000 people in India. I think IBM got 25,000 people, programmers in India. So all the big companies are outsourcing. Each of them got thousands of workers in India.
Well, that's not nothing new. Can you hear me now? My back?
I can.
Sister, you got me?
I got you.
But, that's been going on for 20 years. I mean, I know guys that I came up with that started bringing family members over, that they started their own companies. Matter of fact, a brief time at a company I worked at was one called ypifany that was located in Norcross, Georgia, and they were a storage chip maker.
Okay.
It was a startup, and it was a startup for the better part of 10 years, but I digress. We worked on 10 giggy fiber and 10 giggy iSCSI, through Ethernet. Mm-hmm. And it amazes me how, like I said about it's all right till it's not. You think about what we have to go through here, Sarbanes-Oxley, PCI. Mm-hmm. Over in India, it's not like that, which makes me wonder, how can you claim to care so much about privacy when the bottom line is you're sending your data to a place where, and I'm not making this up, the place where you are has rolling, but he said it has rolling blackouts.
Yeah, that's true.
They barely have a stabilized electricity grid. I mean, this is serious.
Mm-hmm.
They barely have a electricity grid. People think that it's poking fun at some of those over there where you see this one big ass bundle of extension cords running from the one house that has power to about 20, 30, 40 huts, you know? And I'm thinking, no, I mean, but you know, it's their money. That's what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to stop and ask, how can you, you know, that helps us because we're gonna make money because something's going to go wrong. But I think that investing more at home will work. I don't think I don't think there's any law that says you have to send it to India. Same thing with China. Now China we're supposed to be at odds at, but here's something I find time and time again. You have that one asshole that's super, I mean, he or she is just adamant. Come to find out that $100,000 salary they got, they take about 20, maybe 30-ish of it, and it's going to a group in China who they've given their credentials to log in and do the work. You see that a lot in software. You see it a lot in software. You see a lot, unfortunately, certain levels of finance. Because like I said, there are certain banks that are not fucking around. Bank of America, maybe called Bank of America, but I've been to their corporate office in Toronto. I've been in their corporate headquarters in Charlotte. Night and day.
Right.
But it's still that entire building they're not playing. Right. So our competition directly with Indians who they're starving. They hungry, they want it. And I mean, they're literally starving. You know, I've had Indian friends, brothers and sisters tell me that nowadays, if you don't get an education, you're ruined. That haunts me because my grandparents one side didn't finish school, but they made sure all their children, me as a grandchild, finish high school, and they live long to see a lot of us graduate from college. I don't hear a lot of Black folk side of certain Africans, certain first generation of the Caribbean say that. And to your question again about why is it so hard, it amazes me. When you have a mouth to feed, sometimes that accelerates it. Mm-hmm. Or you get sent to jail or prison, and this is how you're gonna get on parole and get out. That motivates. It is hard to get people out the gate to be motivated to say, look, I want to get that $90,000 a year salary. I want to work to get there. And it just amazes me how the federal government, and I can say this, I've seen it over the last 20, almost 30 years, dump money into historically Black colleges to try to get more Black technology and engineering people. And they just, for whatever reason, I mean, it's a million. But I go back to my example with the Indian cats, women and men, talking about the top 5 technology jobs, top 5 technology certifications, top 5 technology salaries. And then I look, I say, okay, who represents us? I can't do everything. You can't do everything. We can just do what we can. So if tonight, professor or sister, you say, here are the top 10 IT certifications and salary, I guarantee you, when you check your comment section, you have more Indian, Chinese national, Filipino national, Africans down in your comment section than you will American Blacks. It's the damnedest thing I've ever seen. And all I can do is what I do. I help tutor, teach, train, mentor, talk to a lot of the young soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen that come out. That's it. Because like I said, when I saw YouTube, I was like, hey, somebody that look like me, talk like me, might actually be like me doing this. Because most of the people I deal with aren't from here. And you know, they're saying about they skin folk, but they ain't kin folk. You ain't never lied because they're looking out for their best interest, and you can't blame them.
Right. Where are you, Kareem?
I right now am back in the ATL.
Oh, okay.
I usually float from DC to ATL to sometimes Spokane, sometimes Olympia, Washington. That's my beat. I've tried,
Okay,
I've tried to retire. I've retired twice now. You know.
Do you have a channel? You said you were going to get a channel.
Yeah,
right?
well, no, I got two channels. My martial arts channel is just Kareem Martin. And then I have another technology channel, which if I could ever take a minute and focus on it, like if I'd have known, I'd have live streamed this from my technology channel, but I was just like, nah, let me just see what they're doing. But if there's a next time, I'd let you know, hey, sister, I'm simulcasting on my technology channel. But I'm not doing that tonight. Now I'm just running my mouth. But yeah,
no, let us know that. Yeah. So I have to go so I can put my boys to bed. But this is an amazing conversation. I'm so glad you came on, Kareem, Professor Black.
Oh, well, thank you for letting me on. Nice talking to y'all.
Nice meeting you, Kareem. And
that's mean you too, man. Hope we'll talk again.
We definitely. As I always reach out, you know, Fedramp, that's my specialty. NIST 800, all that. GRC, that's what I live on. So anytime, we can definitely chop it up.
But one suggestion. The conversations we have now, especially brother, to your point about why aren't more of us doing top 10, top 5 technology, it's just conversations we need to keep having and get on the record. Right. YouTube likes that. The algorithm likes that.
Yeah.
So anytime y'all can do that or we can do that or whatever, let's do that. Let's do that. But look, you can't see them. But they staring at me right now, looking at me like I'm crazy. So I got some little ones I got to go look after.
Oh, do you?
So yeah. So I'm gonna let y'all have it.
All right, we done too.
Y'all have a good one.
You too. Thanks so much. Thank you again, also, Professor Black Ops. I really appreciate it. Thank all of you for being here. Okay.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I'm gonna see you back here next time, where I'm going to be talking about policy. Okay, you don't want to sleep on policy. Okay, we're going to talk about exactly what that is and what it's really for. Okay, now I'm going to tell you this before I sign off. I read this thing in a risk management book, and I'm like, policy is exactly that. Where the guy asked, "What is the purpose of brakes on a car?" Okay, and he said, "It's so you can go faster." If your policies don't help you go faster, okay, something's up with that, all right? Because their policies aren't there to stop you from doing your work. They're absolutely, they shouldn't be written that way, okay? They should be written in a way that you can go faster. However, only a skilled driver behind the wheel will be able to use the brakes the way they need to be used. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay, people who are just beginning to drive, they will use the brakes differently than somebody who's been doing it for a while, like knows how to do it, is a fantastic driver. Like I know somebody like that, right? Dr. Phillips is an amazing driver, okay? In any kind of weather, he uses those brakes, right? In a way that helps him to be safe and to get to where we're going faster, all right? Versus me, all right? Or I ride the brakes, child, okay? Because I'm like, I can't be doing all that. But that's what it means. So policy doesn't work on its own. It works with people who are skilled, okay, and know how to use them, all right? But we're going to talk about that more. We're going to have examples of policies and all this stuff, okay? So I will see y'all next time. Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.